They're not going to make the team or get cut from the team off of one day. So what really you're trying to see in a group with this much talent is how do they combine with other really good players? Like, can they play with other high-level players on the floor, not just be the number one option only? You know, can you be the second option? Can you be the third option? Can you be the fourth option? Can you be the fifth option?
Can you be the third choice? Can you be the fourth? Can you rise as the fifth? What appeared on the surface to be a routine roster update was, in reality, one of the boldest philosophical pivots USA basketball has executed in decades, yet many fans still haven't fully processed what unfolded. This wasn't a minor reshuffle or a temporary trial run. It was a calculated reset, a clear statement that the old standards no longer govern the present. For years, Team USA thrived on continuity, loyalty, and institutional memory. This time, they embraced disruption. They embraced risk. They prioritized speed and evolution over familiarity and comfort. This wasn't a cosmetic adjustment. It wasn't politically motivated. It had nothing to do with optics or appeasing public sentiment. It was a quiet but unmistakable line drawn in the sand, signaling that the program will not cling to its past if doing so jeopardizes its future. When the newest Team USA roster surfaced, the reaction wasn't mild curiosity, it was genuine shock. Two names long viewed as untouchable were suddenly absent. Chelsea Gray was out. Brittany Griner was out. No farewell ceremony, no symbolic goodbye, no gradual transition, just gone. And stepping into that void was Caitlin Clark. Not as a reserve scorer, not as a promotional attraction, not as a marketing accessory. She arrived as the focal point of an entirely reimagined blueprint. That alone makes it clear this was deliberate. When a program with Team USA's pedigree parts ways with legacy figures without hesitation, the issue isn't personality, it's identity. And when identity shifts, everything that follows transforms with it. This wasn't disrespect, it was a signal. For years, Team USA operated under an unspoken understanding. If you had medals, tenure, and leadership credibility, your position was secure. Your resume shielded you. That era is over. Chelsea Gray didn't lose her role because her talent disappeared overnight. She lost it because the benchmark moved. USA basketball is no longer prioritizing legacy, it's prioritizing immediate influence. The evaluation model has been simplified to its most unforgiving form: recent production, pace adaptability, and skill sets that translate against modern international offenses that refuse to slow down. In straightforward terms, if your game can't match the speed of today's global competition, past accomplishments won't protect you. That's why the decision felt so abrupt. It wasn't emotional. It wasn't random. It was purposeful. Brittany Griner's omission resonated differently, but it carried equal weight. She's iconic. She's been a dominant interior force and a cornerstone of USA basketball for over a decade. Yet the coaching staff finally confronted a difficult reality. The global women's game has evolved beyond traditional post dominance. International teams no longer fear sheer size the way they once did. They fear spacing. They fear tempo. They fear perimeter shooters who stretch defenses until they fracture. Against contemporary systems, slower interior players don't anchor defenses, they're targeted. They're drawn into switches. They're attacked in space. They're neutralized by pace. This wasn't about leadership value or public stature. It was about compatibility. And in 2025 basketball, fit outweighs fame every time. The sport doesn't pause for legends to recalibrate. That's where Caitlin Clark changes the narrative, and where many interpretations miss the mark. Clark didn't simply earn a roster spot. She transformed the structure. She wasn't chosen because of television ratings, merchandise sales, or online visibility. Those elements trailed her success. They didn't define it. She was selected because her skill set addresses a strategic gap Team USA has struggled with for years. International defenses learned to crowd the paint against American squads. They mastered the art of baiting post entries, collapsing early, and forcing uncomfortable half-court possessions. Clark disrupts all of that simply by stepping on the floor. Her shooting range demands defenders meet her nearly 30 feet from the basket. That single adjustment stretches defensive formations before the offense even initiates. Driving lanes expand. Rotations arrive late. Defensive schemes destabilize before they're fully established. This isn't flash. It isn't theatrics. It's spacing science. USA Basketball didn't bring her in for highlight reels. They brought her in because the offense finally has a true initiator to build around. She reshapes the geometry of the court in a way modern international basketball requires. Once you grasp that reality, her inclusion stops feeling controversial and starts feeling inevitable. The real shift happened behind closed doors, where quiet discussions gradually evolved into urgency. Inside Team USA's camp, one phrase surfaced repeatedly, echoing through strategic meetings and evaluations. Can you step in as the third scoring option? The fourth? Even the fifth? What seemed like a standard roster announcement was, in truth, one of the boldest philosophical overhauls USA Basketball has made in decades, and many fans still haven't completely processed its impact. This wasn't a small correction or a temporary experiment. It was a calculated reset, a firm declaration that the previous standards no longer apply. For years, Team USA relied on continuity, loyalty, and proven history. This time, they embraced disruption. They embraced risk. They chose pace and evolution over familiarity and comfort. This wasn't a subtle adjustment. It wasn't politically driven. It had nothing to do with optics or public pressure. It was a quiet but decisive line drawn in the sand, signaling that the program will no longer preserve the past if it limits the future. When the latest Team USA roster surfaced, the reaction wasn't mild interest, it was shock. Two names once viewed as untouchable were suddenly absent. Chelsea Gray was out. Brittany Griner was out. There was no farewell tour, no ceremonial goodbye, no gradual transition, just a clean break. In their place stood Caitlin Clark, not as a role player off the bench, not as a novelty act, not as a marketing addition. She arrived as the focal point of a completely reimagined system. That alone makes it clear this move wasn't accidental. When a powerhouse program like Team USA parts ways with established veterans without hesitation, it's not about personalities, it's about identity. And once identity shifts, everything else changes with it. This wasn't disrespect. It was a message. For years, Team USA operated under an unspoken agreement that veterans rarely questioned. Medals, tenure, and locker room leadership secured your spot. Your resume shielded you. That era is over. Chelsea Gray didn't lose her place because her talent disappeared overnight. She lost it because the standard evolved beneath her. USA Basketball is no longer prioritizing legacy, it's prioritizing immediate impact. The new criteria are straightforward and unforgiving: recent performance, pace compatibility, adaptability, and skill sets that hold up against modern international offenses that no longer play slow, predictable basketball. Simply put, if your game can't match the tempo of today's global competition, past achievements won't protect you. That's why the decision felt so severe. It wasn't emotional. It wasn't random. It was deliberate. Brittany Griner's absence resonated differently but cut just as deep. She's iconic. She's been a dominant interior force and the backbone of USA Basketball's presence in the paint for more than a decade. Yet the coaching staff confronted a difficult reality. The global women's game has evolved beyond traditional post dominance. International teams no longer fear size alone. They fear spacing. They fear speed. They fear perimeter shooters who stretch defenses until they break. Against modern offensive systems, slower interior players don't anchor defenses, they're targeted. They're forced into switches. They're attacked in space. They struggle to keep up with pace. This decision wasn't about reputation or leadership value. It was about fit. And in 2025 basketball, fit outweighs fame every time. The sport doesn't slow down for legends to adjust. That's where Caitlin Clark reshapes the narrative, and where many interpretations miss the point. Clark didn't just earn a roster spot. She transformed the equation. She wasn't chosen because of television ratings, jersey sales, or social media buzz. Those followed her success. They weren't the reason for it. She was selected because her skill set addresses a tactical weakness Team USA has struggled with for years. International defenses learned to crowd the paint against American teams. They mastered collapsing early, baiting post entries, and forcing uncomfortable half-court possessions. Clark disrupts that structure the moment she crosses half-court. Her shooting range requires defenders to pick her up nearly 30 feet from the basket. That single adjustment stretches entire defensive formations before the offense even begins. Driving lanes widen. Rotations come late. Defensive setups destabilize before they are fully organized. This isn't flash or theatrics, it's spacing and structure. USA Basketball didn't add her for highlight clips. They added her because the offense can now flow through her. She reshapes the geometry of the floor in a way modern international basketball demands. Once that becomes clear, her selection stops feeling controversial and starts feeling inevitable. The real turning point happened behind closed doors, where quiet discussions slowly turned urgent. Inside the Team USA camp, one phrase continued to surface again and again: